What is up, guys? We are here with the first ever episode of JMCooks. This has been requested for a while. I'm doing this on my phone, so it's a jank setup. But we're gonna try, and hopefully it'll go well. We're making some quarantine pasta today. So my goal here is I want to make something healthy and delicious that you can make with shelf-stable ingredients, stuff that's not gonna go bad. Since, you know, we don't want to go to the grocery store that often with the social isolation and everything. So we're making some quarantine pasta. All right, so first, let's talk about our ingredients. We got pasta, 200 grams. So rule of thumb is for like a big dinner portion, 100 grams per person of pasta. And so we're making 2 portions so we can have some leftovers to eat tomorrow. We got garlic, 2 cloves. We got an onion. A whole onion, salt there, and pepper, obviously. We got some crushed red pepper. I love this stuff, adds heat to whatever you're making. And then we got a can of whole peeled tomatoes. You can use crushed tomatoes or tomato sauce if you want, like pre-pureed tomatoes if you want, but I like the whole peeled. I feel like you get better flavor. You get a little bit more like meat in there. So I like the whole peeled. So start things off. I guess the first thing we're gonna do is get some water boiling. How does that sound? So over here, we got our pot. It's about enough water. So we are going to salt the water. I feel like people generally tend to underestimate how much salt to put into pasta water. You gotta put a pretty good amount, like that much. A little more, okay. You gotta put a pretty good amount because this is a lot of water. You don't want your pasta to be bland. So we're gonna get that going. Get that boiling, put the lid on so it boils faster. Okay, next up, let's prep our ingredients for the sauce here. First up, garlic. A lot of people like to do like a mince or a fine chop on the garlic. Honestly, I don't find that necessary. I think what you can do is just smash it, and you really got to put some force behind it. Be careful though, don't touch the blade when you do this. Use the back part of the knife, obviously. So we've smashed our garlic. I'll just leave a note for people who are watching the recording. We had to take the stream down for a while because apparently smashing the garlic broke my audio. So sorry, we're using crappy headset audio for the rest of the stream, but we're gonna do our best. So smash the crap out of the garlic. Only other thing you gotta do is remove the skin, if you see skin, and then if you see little, like a little green core in the garlic, cut that out too, because that's not gonna break down. But yeah, I don't usually bother with dicing it because it's pretty much gonna break down and kind of blend into the sauce and you're not even gonna notice. So we're gonna smash again, maybe a little quieter this time. Really smash it. Get that skin off. So we got our 2 pieces. We'll just check, is there a little green core in here? There isn't. The core starts to grow when the garlic gets old. Like I have an example here. You can see here, the green core is already poking out. That means this is old garlic. It's not bad. It won't, you know, make you sick or anything, but it doesn't really taste good and it doesn't cook up the way you want, like the actual bulb itself. So anyway, we got our garlic here. Let's scrape it up. The bench scraper is the greatest tool you can own in the kitchen. Definitely buy one if you don't have one. They cost like $1 and you're gonna use it every single day. So there's our garlic. Next up, it's onion time. And I think this is actually a good time to get our oil going too while we're at it. We're getting our water to a boil and we're gonna heat up our oil too. So this is just neutral grapeseed oil. Any oil you want is fine, but probably don't use like fancy extra virgin olive oil because you won't really taste the difference after it's done cooking. So we'll get this oil heating up, and you don't want very high heat. You want kind of medium, maybe even medium-low heat, because we're not really trying to get a quick brown on this garlic and onions. We're just trying to sweat the water out so they lose all their moisture so that they will brown nicely over time. So while that's heating, let's cut the onion. Actually, real quick, I'm going to sharpen my knife. I have a sharpening steel here. You can get these for a couple bucks. I really recommend it because it's kind of a misconception that sharp knives are more dangerous. But in reality, they're safer because if you have a dull knife, you're going to have to use more force. So you are way more likely to have an accident and cut yourself if your knife is dull. So just make sure it's sharp. I use the sharpening steel every couple of times that I use my knife. And also, I take it in to be professionally sharpened about once a year. It costs like 20 bucks, but if you do that, like, you're going to be able to use the same knife for your entire life, and it will never get dull or be a problem. So I recommend that. So let's cut this onion up. Any kind of onion you like is fine. White, red, yellow, don't matter. We just need that beautiful sweet onion flavor that comes when you cook it. Let's get the skin off here. Okay. Got the skin off. Get it off this side as well. Let's cut this up. I like to do the 2 horizontal cuts. Bunch of little vertical cuts. And then cut this way. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna, you know, this is kind of going to break down and just blend into the sauce once we get done here, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't forget to cut the butt. You do not want to leave valuable onion behind. Use the butt. Some people cry when they cut onions. I definitely do sometimes. I don't have any home remedies for how to not cry when you cut onions. It happens to me all the time. Everybody has like their own household cure, but I got nothing. So let's just do this one too. And again, the sharp knife is really, really going to help with this. Like, I'm not even really doing any force. It's like the weight of the knife just cuts right through. And again, don't forget the butt. And if you don't like, you know, you got some kind of uneven pieces, you can just go through and give it another chop. Just try to get the big pieces smaller so that you don't have any undercooked onion floating around. All right, sorry for the weird angle, but because I have to bring the tripod with me because I'm using the headset, this is what we got to do. So let's get these onions in the heated up oil. I can tell by how vigorously it's sizzling that this is too hot. These are going to brown way too fast. So I'm going to take them off the heat a little bit. I'm going to lower this temp just a little bit. Again, you do not want it to be that hot, or else these onions are going to get too brown too fast and they're going to start to burn. So we don't want that. And let's get these guys moving. We can throw in our 2 cloves of garlic at this point as well. And this is going to take a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, assuming that you have the right heat so you're not cooking these too fast. It's just going to take a few minutes. And then we can put our pasta in as well. Water's boiling. Again, this is 200 grams of dry rigatoni. Whatever kind of pasta you like is fine. It really does not matter. And you just got to stir it one time here at the beginning to make sure they don't stick to each other. I'm using a spider. This is another really handy tool that once you get one, you're like, how did I ever live without this? We're going to start a timer here. Because I'm using my phone right now, I have to use my tablet as a timer. So do 1 minute short of what it says on the package. So the package says 12 minutes. We're doing 11 minutes. So once again, keep these onions moving as best as you can. You do not want them to brown yet. You do not want them to brown just yet. You want them to weep out all their moisture. Something that's going to help with that is a little pinch of salt. Pretty decent amount of salt. Not too much because there is going to be salt in our canned tomatoes. So we don't want it to get too salty because there is a decent amount of salt in the canned tomatoes. Again, I'm a little bit concerned about how fast this is browning. I think my pan must have got really hot while I was dealing with the sound issues or something. So I'm going to move this off heat for just a second. So we're going to work our tomatoes now. Like I said, a can of whole tomatoes. And we're just going to use our hands to break these up. If you want to use a blender or a food mill, you can, but I don't really see the point. I kind of like using my hands, both because it's fun, but also, and because you don't have to clean your blender. So that's nice too. But the other thing is, I like a little bit of variety in like the size. Like you're going to get some stuff that's like blended sauce. You're going to get some little chunks of tomato. So each bite is like a little journey. You never know exactly what you're going to get. Okay, we're just going to try to make sure any big chunks in here are broken up, and then we're good to go. I'm going to wash this hand. Let's get these onions back on the heat now that the pan is cooled down. Again, I was just worried that they were gonna get super brown too early, which is not what we want. So let's get these guys going. Probably a couple more minutes on these. You can tell they still have a lot of water to give up, so you can wait for that. While we're here, why don't we build a cocktail, guys? Does that sound fun? Cocktails make the cooking experience more enjoyable. I'm gonna get big cubes of ice. Just trying to set up my camera right. All right, we got these big ice cubes. I want to crush them. The most elegant solution I found for crushing them is I literally use the back of my juicer, crush them. That's not too shabby, eh? One more in there. Oh God, ice went everywhere. Ice went everywhere, but no big deal. All right. So we're making, it's kind of an Amaro spritz situation. I based it loosely off a recipe from Alex Delaney at Bon Appetit called the Little Ripper. Hold on, I'm concerned about the onions. Keep them moving, boys, keep them moving. We don't want the ones on the bottom to brown. Next step, you're gonna want an Amaro or an aperitif or an Italian bitter. I have Aperol because that's what I have on hand. Sometimes it's hard with the labels to find what you're looking for. Anything that says aperitif, aperitivo, or Amaro is gonna be fine. We're gonna put a generous shot in here. This is only 11% alcohol, so you can kind of be a little generous here. There, how about that? Next ingredient is sparkling water. Just a little bit of it, just a little splash. Next step, lemon. I'm gonna roll the lemon to loosen the juice a little bit, and then we're gonna get some of the peel. The peel of the lemon is very valuable. It has such good concentrated flavor. So we're gonna grab a big hunk of peel there, squeeze some of the oil out, and then I like to kind of touch the rim of the glass with it. That's gonna give you that nice aroma when you drink of the lemon. We're also gonna juice the lemon. Take this, squeeze half a lemon's worth of juice, and then the final garnish here is gonna be olives. Kind of like a martini. If you don't like olives, you don't gotta use them. I love olives. And I think to this, the little bit of saltiness and brininess you get really improves the experience. So I got a toothpick. We'll do 2 because I'm a greedy guy and I like olives. So throw those in there. So again, this doesn't have like a real name. This is kind of an Aperol Spritz, except Aperol Spritz has champagne. It's kind of a Little Ripper, which is a recipe from Bon Appetit, but generally it is just delicious. So let's take a sip of that. Oh, it is so good. It's really good. The thing about these Amaros and these aperitifs and these bitters, they're a little medicinal, a little bit bitter, but they're also just perfect before dinner. That's why they're called aperitifs. You're supposed to eat them before dinner. Let's check on our onions. These guys, ooh, okay, we're getting some brown on the bottom. I think they're about ready for the next step, which is going to be the tomato paste. How are we doing on time here? Okay, we got 2.5 minutes on pasta. This is going to be perfect. So we're going to add the tomato paste to these onions here. Pretty generous helping. I like the tube of tomato paste. You can also find this in cans. It's not the end of the world if you have a can instead of a tube, but I like the tube because there's no waste. Sorry, I'm just struggling to get the cat back on the tube. There's no waste. You can just put this in your fridge and use it as you need it. This is also when we're going to add red pepper flakes. Get them on there. You don't have to do this if you don't like spicy. I love spicy, so I am for sure adding them. And then we're going to try to just get some really good browning on here. So you've probably heard of the Maillard reaction. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. So the thing with tomato paste is it's tomatoes that have been reduced so much that they have like no water. There is like no water in these tomatoes, so they brown up real nice. So we're just going to keep stirring. And you can already see there's kind of a brown fond building up on the bottom of the pan here. That's what sort of the brown stuff that sticks to the pan is, and that stuff is flavorful. That is where you get all that delicious complexity and flavors from that browning. That's why we had to get the water out of the onions as well, so they didn't weep water into the tomato paste and keep it from browning. So we're gonna get kind of a double dose of tomatoes here. That deep, rich, chocolatey tomato flavor from the browned tomato paste. And then we're gonna get that fresher, not completely fresh because they are canned tomatoes from our can of whole tomatoes. So I'm loving what I'm seeing with this fond on the bottom. I think we can stand to go just a little bit more, get this just a little bit more brown. And then we are going to prepare to deglaze. Deglazing is when you use a liquid to get this beautiful brown layer off the bottom of the pot. So we are going to be using some sweet vermouth that my friend Phil got for me. Thanks, Phil. You can use any wine that you want, or if you don't have wine, you can use like chicken stock. I like vermouth because it keeps a long time, whereas red wine, you can only keep it in the fridge for like a day or two. Vermouth, you can keep in there for a few months. Make sure it's sweet vermouth, red vermouth, not dry vermouth. Not the vermouth that you put in a martini. So again, we got that brown fond forming, and then we're just going to pour, I don't know, like a shot of vermouth maybe. And then we're going to scrape up that brown layer. It smells like alcohol now, but I promise that is going to cook off and it will not have alcohol flavor when we're done here. So get all those little brown bits. You want all of that in your finished product because that holds the flavor. Scrape it all up, and then before it starts to brown on there, again, we're going to add our tomatoes. Tomatoes get in there. And then just get everything getting to know each other here. Those brown bits, those onions, and then our can of tomatoes. We want this to come back up to a simmer. And if there's any big bits of tomatoes, you can break them up with your wooden spoon. We want to get this back up to a simmer, and our pasta should be finishing any minute now. So let's check that timer. Oh, hey, pasta should be done. I don't have volume going on there apparently, so maybe our pasta is going to be a little overcooked. But our spider from earlier is going to come in handy to scoop out all this pasta. Don't worry too much about shaking all the water off because you are going to want that water. That water has a lot of starch in there, which is going to help the sauce emulsify. And again, this is why you want to cook your pasta 1 minute short of the suggested cooking time, because it is going to finish cooking in this pan. So we just want to get everything coated. We want to maybe simmer out some of this water. The other thing we're going to do here is we're going to take a little bit of this pasta water. This pasta water, the starches in here will really help to make the sauce thick and beautiful. So let's just get this all combined. Try to bring it up to a simmer if we can. And kind of what I use to tell here is if we drag the spoon through, you see this just fills in. That's not what we want. We want it to leave like a little, what's the word? Like a canal. When we run our spoon through here, we want it to leave a canal. So we've got to let this reduce a little bit more. Just make sure that you stir the pasta all the way up so every last noodle gets coated in that glossy sauce. So we're just reducing. You can see we're getting a little better of a canal here when we drag the spoon through. It takes a second for it to fill in with liquid. So I would say maybe like 30 more seconds. Am I getting roasted because I call them noodles? That's definitely an American thing. We use, like, pasta is like the group term. Like when you put a bunch of these together, it's pasta. But if you grab just one, we would call it a noodle. It's a very American thing to say. We also want to taste for salt and pepper at this point. Let's taste for seasoning. It could definitely use more salt, actually. Not too much, just a little pinch. And then some black pepper. Black pepper, sorry you can't see, but trust me, I'm grinding black pepper. It takes 2 hands. Okay. All right. This should be done now. I don't want to overcook my noodles, so you can't leave it in here too long. Let's just make sure salt and pepper is dispersed. I'll turn off the heat. Time to plate this up, boys. By which I mean bowl this up. I'm going to use a bowl, which I know also I don't think Italians eat pasta out of bowls. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's like a minor faux pas, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna set the pasta there. I'm gonna set up tripod. And let's just plate about half of this up. Oh God, I'm making a mess. Oh, I'm making a mess, boys. Don't be like me. Don't film while you're doing this. You'll definitely make a mess. All right, that's roughly half the pasta. All right, so I'm gonna cheat. Here at the end, I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and we're gonna use something that's not shelf stable. First of all, Parmesan cheese. Listen, guys, don't buy the Parmesan that comes in a can, pre-ground. That stuff's no good. Buy a whole wedge. It's not even expensive. I like a lot of cheese, as you can probably tell by looking at me. Listen, buy a wedge. This wedge costs like $7, and it's gonna last me forever. Make sure you get one that has the stamp on it that says Parmigiano Reggiano. And then finally, we're gonna garnish with a little bit of parsley. I know this is cheesy. This is 80s. People will make fun of me for this, but I just think it looks nice. I like the way it looks. It completes the experience. Let us grab a nice piece here. All right, boys, let's see how we did. This is gonna be 1,000,000 degrees. So, it's real good. It's really, really good. The thing where you brown the tomato paste, that is really what does it. You just really get a nice richness, a nice depth of flavor. That is the most important thing. And what I really want you to take away from this stream, if you're someone who's not really comfortable cooking, you don't have to follow the recipe exactly. These are just a bunch of techniques that you can apply to a lot of meals. Like whatever you got, throw it in. You got mushrooms, you got peppers, you got, I don't know, potatoes, whatever you got, throw them in there. But if you follow, you know, the techniques of getting the fond on the pan, deglazing the pan, use that pasta water to thicken the sauce, you're always going to get something good. You can make a white sauce out of this instead of tomatoes. If you use a little milk and Parmesan, you can really go ham. So, the Parmesan also really makes it good. So, that is the gist of it. That's the end of episode 1 of JM Cooks. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm about to eat this entire bowl of pasta. Be sure to let me know what you would like to see me cook next. I'd love to hear it. So I'm also going to rescue the leftovers that are in the pan in case you're concerned about that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of JM Cooks.